Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
can anyone say Atomic Bomber Man? That is where this music's from.
Oh my God. Wow.
Atomic Bomber Man
Wha-
OST.
I would have never got that.
Yeah, I got that bad boy on CD somewhere kicking
I would have
around here.
never got that.
How you doing, man?
I'm good,
I've
man. How are
been
you?
super excited about this stream.
Let's
Uh,
do it.
all right, without further ado, I'm gonna hit the magic
Which
button
one?
on my phone, and we're gonna get a beautiful, beautiful faded transition into video playback, and for our discussion. And to enhance your experience and listening and viewing experience, we also have picture-in-picture for the browser. Now, if
Nice.
if I pull my sorcery off correctly, I can also get this to you in 1-to-1, so you're not on a stream delay.
Got
Sir?
it. Yeah.
Okay, that, and then this, and then this, and boom, baby.
Mhm. There we go.
Groovy, baby. All right.
Sharp.
It's only in 720 to you on
That's fine.
Discord.
Oh, I don't care about that.
And there'll be no audio, but there isn't any audio anyways. The clips actually do have audio, but I have it turned off
That's okay.
for discussion purposes. So,
That motion blur.
Quake. Yeah, let's talk about that. I turned in the re-release of Quake, which came out in August of 2021. It was remastered / re-released by Night Dive Studios, who have done remasters of a few games. Let's see what their portfolio is looking like. So yeah, August 19th, 2021, when is when the re-release came out. And let's see what Night Dive Studios has worked on.
About this. Oh, I didn't realize it was the same guys doing all of these.
They're the motherfuckers. These are the
Okay,
motherfuckers.
so I will say this: having played a bit of their re-release of System Shock 2, very choice, very, very well done. Oh my God, seventh guest in the 11th hour. Wow, is this bringing back some memories? Like super Sin. Oh my God. Wow. So they were kind of handed the keys of the kingdom.
Yeah, I am not sure how they get these deals, whether they approach the original publishers or developers and say, hey, we'd like to do it, or they get approached to remaster, or it's a little bit of both. I think they're owned by Bethesda, which owns...
Well, that would make sense.
Which owns the Quake intellectual property.
With it and everything. Yeah.
So it makes sense that they did that one, and then I guess they did the Doom
God.
64 port. I think, if memory serves, the Doom 64 port was actually originally only available on the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yes, it was.
And it was a little bonus.
Came to PC.
Yeah, it was a little bonus feature that you got for getting it on the Xbox.
Oh my God.
I've played a little bit of Blood Fresh Supply.
I played Blood.
Oh my God. I gotta do some build engine content. I gotta play something on a build engine.
Someone needs to re-release Burn Cycle.
I've never even heard of that. What is Burn Cycle?
Oh, Burn Cycle, baby. So early 90s or early CD-ROM. It's all one word. Yeah, there it is. Or no, it's not one word. Right there it is. There's the wiki for it. My apologies.
Yeah.
I played the shit out of that. That is along the same lines of back when the seventh guest in the 11th hour, like that era of CD-ROM games with digitized video and everything like that, live actors but digitized backgrounds and everything like that. I played the living shit out of that game. 1994. Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
CDI, Philips CDI.
Well, that's where it was like promoted for that, but it was on PC as well.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was like one of the like launch titles for the CDI, if I remember correctly. Which one of these days, we are going to have to do a CDI run of the Zelda games so you can see how absolutely god awful they are. They're awful.
I've seen playthroughs of them. I've watched
Awful.
the Game Grumps play through
Ugh.
them. I love every
Awful.
second of watching someone play through that. I don't think I would enjoy it as much if I was playing, but
Oh no. It's the most tedious. And then you sit there and I like practically want to throw up because it even has the Zelda name and characters. I'm like, no. You have to stab rupees to pick them up.
check. Just wanted to check, make sure my mic was coming through. Back to full.
Yay.
All right.
Yeah, you're good.
So, speaking of full screen, I'm looking at the video now. Motion blur, yes. I have enhanced models turned off in the Quake re-release. I have model interpolation turned off. For those that don't know, model interpolation is a way of making animations appear smoother, where you animate keyframes, so certain positions of your character or whatever you want to animate, and then your game interpolates an average distance or a distance in between the 2 points through some algorithm to add frames without having to do that manually, like a 3D FX artist doing it manually. So it saves time in production and space. If the game is interpolating your model and you only need to have 3 or 4 keyframes for a 30-frame cycle, all the better. And Quake came out in the mid-90s, so I'm not even sure what the original specifications were. There were hardware requirements. I think it was 40 megabytes of disk space, something like that. But yeah, I have most of the enhancements turned off, except I have motion blur cranked all the way up, and I don't have the low resolution textures on. It sort of adds this effect of being on a low resolution monitor, but it's actually not low resolution, so it ends up looking not very good. So I don't like that so much, but I'm sure you might have your game set up a little bit differently to mine.
I have a lot of the new features on. There were a couple that I did turn off because I again, what you said, some of the stuff didn't translate. It made it look a little funky.
Yep.
With the speed of the game and, modern monitors and, my rig's running the game at like 4,000 FPS. It's like ridiculous. So it's one of those things where I commend the sheer fact that they gave us the ability to kind of tailor the experience the way we see fit. I still prefer Vanilla Quake overall. As far as when I say Vanilla Quake, I'm talking over top of like the Epsilon build and stuff like that. But I love the re-release of it because of those slight modern things that they added that will allow us to kind of modernize it a little bit, just to kind of get it up to pace to what my memory remembers, right? Like there's certain things and certain features that are on there that I'm like, okay, this is definitely added on for today's market, but this is the way my memory remembers experiencing the game, if that makes sense.
Right.
Hello, Jaina.
Hey, Jaina, how you doing? Ooh,
I wish I could right now.
Immediately. I'll hit that. Speaking of the Epsilon build, the Epsilon build is a air quote version of Quake. It's built on a source port, which is Dark Places, and then basically had every single graphical enhancement you can think of thrown at it in some way, shape, or form, or at least what was available and people knew how to do in the modding community at the time that the mod was created. So it adds real-time lighting, so light sources and stuff like that no longer are baked into the map. The way Quake does it is it applies a light map texture, which is another texture on top of the walls or surfaces that are being illuminated. It's only at half the resolution, which is why if they're at an angle, they're kind of choppy. But it basically applies that layer while the map is being compiled, and then that lighting is baked in. No longer the case in Dark Places with real-time lighting. But it's very, very taxing, and Quake being an old game, it's not very efficient at using all of the modern hardware that you could throw at it. There's sort of diminishing returns. Like, there probably isn't actually that much of a performance difference between you running Epsilon and me running Epsilon if we're using real-time lighting, just because it's not going to utilize the extra threads that you have in your processor and stuff like that. It simply doesn't know to look for it. But it's a great overhaul experience, and There's a version of it for Arcane Dimensions as well, which is another expansion for Quake that is a complete overhaul, almost. New weapons, new enemies, breakable terrain, which was not in the original Quake,
Right.
all kinds of cool stuff, transparent textures, new particle effects, new game logic, so you can do more complicated things with doors. It's
Well, that's right. I remember when I first met you, you were screwing around with that.
Yes.
Were you not? You were building levels and you were talking about the door stuff.
Oh man, don't even get me started on building doors in Quake. It sucks. And making maps for Quake is really simple. Like in theory, there's only a few things you have to know how to do, but that's also its Achilles heel. There's only a few things you can do. Like an elevator. Oh man, don't even get me started. An elevator that you take up in Quake is a funk_lift, but an elevator that you take down is not a funk lift. It is actually a funk door. And if it goes both directions, it is a funk_platform. It's shortened to funk plat. Funk lift only goes up. You set you set. Oh man, when you're building the map, you have to put the elevator at the top of the position where it's going to end up, even though it'll start at the bottom. So in your editor, your lift is at the top of where it's supposed to be. You measure the height in Quake units from the top to the bottom. You assign that as a value to the funk plat, and then in-game, it actually loads at the bottom and will take you up. But if you want to go down, you can't do that with a funk plat. You have to make it a funk door and then set the direction to -2, which is down in Quake.
Okay.
I
know a little bit about the coding, so, but there's several things that you will say tonight that I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I know the general principle of what you're talking about. I've seen some of the coding in action. A friend of mine used to build and stuff like that, and I've watched him. And of course, I screwed around with it back in the day, but again, I didn't know what I was doing. But it was one of those things where, hey, I think I can figure this out if I deconstruct something and work backwards and stuff like that. So that's always fun. But I always like to hear you talk about it because I can generally follow what you're saying. So the sheer fact that all of just that for lifts alone, where there's 3 or 4 different variations as far as how you have to code that's nuts. Like that to me is like, I'm sure they have their reasons why they did that. But why did they do that?
Well, I mean, the development of Quake was like rushed. Like it was supposed to be like Skyrim of the 90s, basically.
Right.
And it ended up being Doom the second, 3D Doom, which I'm not complaining about.
No.
It's awesome. Now, an interesting little technical thing that I didn't realize until I rendered this gameplay footage of Quake is this is Quake 64, the original N64 port of Quake that's available. You literally open up the Quake re-release, go to your mods, download it, boom. You have it, plug and play. No plugging required. However, it adds this CRT filter, which both doesn't look very good on a regular monitor and also looks absolutely awful on stream because
it's bad.
It's really bad. So I'm going to skip this because this is not something that people are going to
So that's Quake in the Quake 64 engine.
Yep.
Okay.
No, it's Quake in the Kex engine. This is
not
not the original Quake engine. Let's go to so this is Arcane Dimensions overhaul for Quake running in Dark Places Epsilon. And I elected not to run real-time lighting for 2 reasons. One, this map was not designed with RT lighting in mind, so it doesn't look good, and basically the whole thing's in shadow. And 2, it doesn't run very well. This map is pushing the limitations of your standard Quake engine as is, and just the RT lighting was too much with recording and everything, but it still looks fantastic. You have HD models, retextured, new HUD there.
Well, that's the mod that you showed me that I really like is the Arcane Dimension stuff.
Yes.
I think it's very, very well done for being its own thing.
Now, speaking of Arcane Dimensions compatibility with Dark Places and all that, let's take a look at this. With the newest update of Quake Remastered, you can now play Tears of the False God, which is a map from Arcane Dimensions, making it fully playable. Tears of the False God was the map from the Arcane Dimensions expansion that broke Quake through size, entities, just the complexity of the geometry. Like you'll see in the original,
surfaces.
yeah, curved surfaces. It's all you can see. I load this up. Yeah, you can see, right? Like you can see it's not really that smooth by today's standards, but for Quake, this is nuts.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
And
that type of geometry in that game that's unheard of.
So it's now fully functional in the Kex engine, meaning that you can now play all the Arcane Dimensions in the Quake Remaster. It's not available to download like the N64 or Beyond Belief, which was the footage you were seeing at the start there. Beyond Belief was not actually an official expansion. It wasn't licensed, but they made like retail copies of it. I have one on CD somewhere, and it was just some levels for Quake. It was 2 episodes. I think the last level was actually bugged, and you couldn't beat Chthon in it. I would hope that they patched it for this version. But it looks like about a year ago, Arcane Dimensions has been fully compatible with the Quake re-release, which is awesome. Arcane Dimensions is available on ModDB if anybody wants it, and you can install it in a few different engines, or source ports rather. I've used FitzQuake with it. I've used QuakeSpasm. I use QuakeSpasm Plus, which is like QuakeSpasm but more spasmy. QuakeSpasm Plus has features in it for certain levels on the scale of Arcane Dimensions levels. It's, I think, maybe important to note that Arcane Dimensions levels are orders of magnitude larger than original Quake levels, both in physical size and items and enemies and triggers that have to spawn. So anything that makes something happen by proximity of an enemy or your character, you move in a certain spot and it opens a door. You move in a certain spot and it moves a lift. That's a trigger, but it's also an entity. Enemies are entities, ammo drops, armor drops, they're all entities. So the more of that stuff, the more complicated the map becomes. And I've actually made maps that have broken Quake engines just because I had too many light sources in them. So I can't imagine how much light information is going on here, especially with real-time lighting. It's pretty crazy to think about. Oh, also, plug and play, cross-platform, anybody can connect to anybody, easy peasy, multiplayer in Quake Remaster, co-op and deathmatch.
I'm still flabbergasted that I completely missed that there was co-op. Now, they didn't change anything in regards to the levels when it comes to co-op, correct? Like there's not more enemies that spawn or anything like that.
No. So the way it worked originally in Quake is you would host a multiplayer server, and there was no difference in the original Quake release between deathmatch and co-op. There was no distinction. You just load it into a game, and you load it into a map. And if you load it into a single-player map, it would count your kills. And if you went through the exit portal, it would load the next one, because that's just how Quake maps work. There's actually a trigger. When you walk through the portal, it literally triggers a line of code in the game that says load next map. It saves your inventory and you move on. But you could set it to deathmatch maps, which didn't have a level exit. And then in later releases like Quake World and GL Quake and stuff that came out in 1997, I think, the next year for hardware accelerated equipped computers and stuff like that, they added a few internet protocols and stuff like that to make multiplayer a little bit smoother and easier to set up. And then you could set it so if you went through the exit of a single player level in DM, it would just bring you back to the start instead of exiting the level. Because you could be in a fight with someone and having a deathmatch and accidentally go through the exit and it would just load the next level. I did that many times with my dad. But yeah, I played with Colton yesterday, I think it was. And he just loaded in, gave me his code. I put the code in and... Oh, that's weird. Speaking
of Colton.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
I shall.
We're talking about you.
Hi.
Oh man, another toke.
There we go. I had to get resupplied in that department. Also took a break. Let my body recover.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely a good thing to do sometimes.
Even though it's like prescribed to me, it's like, you know what? I need to kind of throttle it back a little bit here. So just a real quick side note concerning the footage that's on the screen right now. Arcane Dimensions, one of the things I absolutely love about that overhaul is that I love seeing your projectiles, like
Yeah.
like when you shoot the shotgun, when you shoot the nails. That was a very, very nice touch on their part. There's something very satisfying about that with this build of the game.
Yeah, and it's all like the shotguns in this game are not projectile based. The nail guns are, they're physical projectiles that have travel time, but the shotguns are hit scan.
Okay.
So you're getting your instantaneous. I don't know how they do it. I have to go back and look at it. I mean, I can understand you make a model go from point A to point B, but it's not that simple. It doesn't look tacked on. And it looks like there's delay.
Or an individual projectiles, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
For the super shotgun, it's still hit scan, but it's an individual. It's a pattern that spreads over distance. So
okay, right.
That's how they're doing that. And you can see there, like half them hit the enemy, half them hit the wall, and there's blood and a stone texture coming off the wall. It's just, although this is sort of a mishmash of stuff jammed together, it's done really well as it can be done.
Yeah. No, I thought that was a nice touch. God, the level designs are so good.
It's insane. I mean, look at the skybox. It's just a 2D thing, but for a 2D skybox, it looks great. Morning. How you doing, man? Welcome in. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's just... Oh, God, it's so great.
Yeah, I could literally sit here. I know, like, I played this yesterday and recorded it, and I could sit here and just watch it. It's so good.
Well, the biggest thing is... that still like kind of blows my mind and trips me up when I think about it is this is how you and I met.
Yeah.
Was Quake. Like that still like screws with me to this day that I'm like, holy shit, like a dude that's becoming an extremely good friend of mine in this day and age we met through Quake.
In this economy?
In this economy. It was like I was like the one night I said that I think I was talking to Loud Silence, and I was like, all right, I'm going to stream, but I'm going to play something that nobody's going to want to watch me play. And I was like, I'm vibing on Quake. It's one of my favorite games. It's like top 5 favorite game of all time, like up in the top 5 for me. Started playing it, and then there's this guy that comes on and just starts talking shop, and I'm like, holy shit, someone actually wants me to... Like, someone actually came on here because I was playing Quake, and here we are.
I think
how long ago was that? Was that about a year ago?
About a year now. I think 11 months.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. I love you, man. I love talking shop with you. I love playing games with you. It's great. And it was nice, you know. There's this one channel that like is constantly streaming Quake Deathmatch. Like that's all they stream. There's no commentary. I guess they just really like it. So I was like, oh, it's 2 a.m. or whatever. It's like really late at night, and I was like, I wonder if anybody is playing Quake. And I looked up, not expecting to see anything, and there you were. And I immediately burrowed my way into the Discord.
It was so good. So good.
I think every time I stream Quake, I have someone random show up who's like, oh, I love Quake, dude.
Yeah. But what also blows my mind is also, you know, there is a little bit of an age gap with us. And that's what, like, really tripped me out. I was like, wait. Someone his age knows Quake, and I attribute that to your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Introducing this game to you. So that's what another thing that was so awesome. I was like, oh man, someone's passing this on. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I literally, like, the first gaming memory I have is sitting on my dad's lap playing RuneQuake on quake.schmack.net.
Oh, God.
And on this old Windows 98 computer, and do you remember the wallpaper? It kind of looked like Lego bricks. Like, it wasn't supposed to be, but it was blue and just had these, like, nubs on it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, my God, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know why I remember, but that was the wallpaper.
Mm-hmm.
And a big old CRT monitor that made, like, crispy sounds when you turned it on, you know? Little warmed up, you know, started really dim. Okay, I'm going to go grab a drink. I'll come back. Maybe we'll be able to see Quake because it's a dark game. And yeah, he would do the arrow keys because he didn't like the mouse. Yep. And
same. I played with when I first played Quake. For the longest time, I did not use a mouse.
Yep, he would do arrow keys, and I would do WASD, and we won games. Okay, It was a dream team, and I've mentioned this before. I think beyond belief because I died. I think I've mentioned this before on stream, but I'll mention it again. The origin of my username dates back to my dad and his Quake username. He's a Beatles fan, and his Quake username, among other things, he changed it all the time because it was super easy to do. Like, you didn't have an account or anything back then.
Yeah, you could just go into any match and change it. Yeah,
you literally open the console, type name, space, and then whatever you wanted, as long as it was 16 characters or less. And he was Sergeant Pepper Spray, and he would just go around wrecking people in Quake. And I named myself Sergeant Pieface because I was a kid, but I liked his username, and that's where the Pie Guy came from.
Yep.
Literally all started with Quake. All right. What an amazing game. It's like 30 years old now and still has adoring fans to this day, which is a great segue to our next game, Forza Motorsport.
Wow. What a transition.
So, me and you are going to have to do the heavy lifting for the first 5 or so minutes of this segment because I started recording and I figured, you know what? I'm going to boot it up and see what happens. And, well, we're at 5% optimizing shaders and 5%. It's not moving.
So this is a video that we're watching.
This is a video. This is a video. Yes, we are live. We are live. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. That's funny.
Now, I hate to double down on the transition and do this to them off rip, but we're going to take a little look at the Microsoft Store and read some reviews.
Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy. Oh, this is awesome.
It has a 2.3 overall rating with 5.4 total reviews on.
And this won. Let's reiterate. This game won an award at the Game Awards.
Yeah. Let's just check the Steam page. Oof, it's not much better over here.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. That's a lot of red. That's a lot of red. Oof. That's a lot of red. That's a lot of red. There actually isn't. Normally there's some. I don't see anything positive.
There's fun. Fun.
Anyone reading this has the opportunity. Please just go get some Gran Turismo 7. Oh, man.
Amen. That's great.
Those reviews are fine. Apparently, that's what classifies as fine. If you ask Xbox, let's see how we're doing over here. Now, okay, back to the webpage. We're still trying to sign into Xbox Live over here. Let's see. Forza Motorsport update release notes. We're working hard or something. So, just so you know, in case anybody was worried, they have added 33 new race suits. Let's just check back on this. Yep, that's a hard crash to desktop with no error. Okay.
Great.
New career events, which is... It's not going to fix the game, but it's nice because the career was lacking. So I think anything they add to the career is going to be nice. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about the AI because the AI sucks.
No, traditionally, wasn't the AI pretty decent in those games?
I don't know about the other Forza Motorsport games. Oh, hey, look at that. I played them here and there on friends' consoles over the years. I never had an Xbox myself, and I wanted to play Forza Motorsport 7 on PC, but it got delisted over a year before Forza Motorsport, the new one here, came out, because the license has expired for the cars, I think. Even though Xbox's whole thing with the Game Pass was, you know, we're not going to, like, that was a whole selling point when they were, like, trying to make that big, right? Where they're not going to do that and pull the rug out on you, and then an in-house first-party game gets yoinked with no follow-up. So, I'm trying to bug fixes, general. Fixes to improve game stability. Saved Rivals replays now include weather information. That's great, but the replays don't actually load, so that's useless. They still don't work. You still cannot play a multiplayer race and click view replay. It just doesn't work. There's some ray tracing stuff that they fixed. I can't speak too much to that because I run with ray tracing off. Fix an issue of infinite loading screen when swapping cars to the currently used car from the pre-race menu. That's both a mouthful, and I don't know if they actually fixed it. Fix an issue that disables navigation using the left stick or D-pad when selecting the team credits and option and immediately backing out. Yeah. I went to another Discord server that was hosting a custom race night. They hosted a custom private lobby and invited everybody individually because you can't make an open lobby for people to join. You have to privately invite them and add them to your friends list first. And like turn one, we all plowed off the track into the wall. And you can't just go back to the lobby to restart the race. You have to end the race back to the main menu, restart the lobby, re-invite everybody, resend the room code. It just doesn't work. It's like the opposite of what Fallout 76 was supposed to be. It just doesn't work.
When are investors going to realize, like, yo, you can't push these devs to rush this stuff out the door? Like, I just don't understand. Like, but it's money talks. That's all it is. I mean, that's really, really what it boils down to. You know, they want their money back. They want their investment, and they want to move on. Oh, just patch it. Oh, just patch it. What I would like to know, if anybody out there would ever clarify this, is what are the working conditions like at that studio at this current time? I might not want to know, but
I think
I feel for them.
I think there's quote unquote internal turmoil, and like we were feeling the effects of that during Horizon 5. Like, it's a live service game, it's still going. Honestly, Horizon should have been a contender for best ongoing game. It really should have.
Absolutely.
But that's okay. Fixed an issue where entering the pits after last qualifying lap causes the game camera to get stuck in the pit lane. Like, like this is just like didn't test it before you shipped it stuff. This is the third update too. This is major update number 3.
Oh yeah, Savage. We haven't gotten to what's wrong with the game yet. All of this is completely fine.
Yeah, it could actually work perfectly after the shaders optimize, which, by the way, in the last 2 patch notes, there was specifically a note about not having to re-optimize shaders every time there was a game update, and it's done it every time. I'm surprised they didn't add removed Herobrine. Jeez.
Love it.
Fixed a force feedback issue on the Logitech G29. Not a fancy wheel, by the way. The entry-grade consumer-level wheel, not a direct drive multi-$1,000 setup. $400 Walmart special force feedback wheel, which caused the steering wheel to pull to the left with, what does that mean? With any amount of force? Like it would just break your wrist?
Ew. Well, we did see that video I sent you with the wheel freaking out.
No, due to the resolution of an asset streaming issue, players might notice a slight deficit in car visual fidelity during the post-race podium sequence. Oh, we'll get to that. The cars don't even fucking load sometimes there. Oh, so here's the benchmark that I finally got into load, and I'm going to say I took about a 10% frame rate hit because I was recording, so do with that information whatever you will. But it did eventually load. I would wanted to run the benchmark to see, but the benchmark is awkward. So, look, if there's a video game, people are going to cheat, but hear me out. If they made a way for this benchmark, which runs in real time, to have the cars handle like they do here, is that not putting in people's minds and giving them a backdoor to make their cars handle like this? Like, actually, like, look at this. Like, the cars are on rails here. This is in-engine real time. I don't know. Anyway,
And the benchmark was done that quick?
yeah, it's like a 30-second benchmark. It doesn't, like, actually...
Does get into anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also... Oh, go back to that. Look at that. So, dynamic render quality is set to custom for me. Dynamic optimization, custom. Resolution's 1920 by 1080, but there's like fucking 4 different rendering options. You can set your DLSS quality, you can set your dynamic render resolution quality, you can set your actual render resolution quality, all independently, and none of them tell you what they do. It's just low, medium, high, ultra. Like, it doesn't tell you what the actual resolutions are. So I actually had to go to Reddit to figure out how to make my game render natively at 1080p. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I could not tell what resolution it was rendering at.
Oy.
Yeah. This one, best sports game of the year.
Boy, they didn't pay for that whatsoever.
Yeah. Let's see what people have been playing here. Got all-time peak of 4507. That's not great. Like, I know racing games are a niche market, but I just think 4,500 people, like, there's so much Forza content out there on YouTube, and people are streaming it, and, like, some of us grew up on these games. I know a lot of my friends did. 4,500 people when this game came out? That's not a lot. Across Xbox and PC, there's only 711 people playing this as of 2 hours ago.
That's not good either.
That's not.
That's pretty abysmal.
So I'm gonna
for a game with the legacy that it has.
Yeah, I'm gonna direct our attention
Right.
back to this because I think there was some interesting stuff going on when I loaded into this. I gotta say though, credit where credit's due. Loading times for something like this are pretty good.
Well, that's good.
I have it on M.2 SSD, but loading times are good. And I wish I didn't, but out of habit, I skipped the little cutscene of you leaving the pit lane because it gives me a headache. Like, it glitches out every time, and it gives me a headache, so you won't see it. But I'll save you, and I'll paint you a word picture of what it looks like. Imagine what I'm saying is a visual thing. That's that's what it looks like.
One more time.
Literally. That's it. Do you like my custom car? There's a Waffle House sponsor that I put on it.
Well, hey.
I made this paint livery.
I mean, everybody likes Waffle House. If you don't, GTFO.
I guess this is just a practice session. So yeah, I did a few laps and I qualified. I don't know if there's really that much to talk about more with Forza. I'm sad because
that's ultimately what I honestly. Ultimately, I mean, I've ripped on the game repeatedly because of the state that it's in, but I ultimately am sad for you. Like, it's like this just is not. I just feel bad because I know how beloved this series is, and also when it comes to racing sims, you know, a lot of people. You don't get this a lot. You know what I mean? You don't get the chance to get a racing sim. It's a niche thing, you know?
Yeah.
And the sheer fact that one with the legacy that this game has carried, and it's been so long since there has been the actual motorsport one instead of Horizon, it's just like, how do you fuck this up? How?
Yeah. I have to say, the smeary DLSS crap that was going on is a lot better now. So that shadow underneath like the tail of the car in third person, that looks a lot better than it did. So there are improvements, but I had the realization last night as I was recording this footage. I've been playing beamng and using that as a simulator, and I've played like some Assetto Corsa recently, and I hopped back on this, and I was just like, there's actually not a point. There isn't anything that makes me want to play this more than anything else because. Yeah, there's car customization, but Forza encourages people to modify their cars because you can still do outlandish stuff that you wouldn't really do in real life. Like, you can still put like a V8 in a car like this. You can still all-wheel drive swap a Mini Cooper and do dumb shit with it. But all that really cool stuff is locked behind car level 50, which reminds me, you see in the top right corner there, my car points, which they used an unfortunate abbreviation for. We don't have to get into that. My car points, my car will level up, and it'll flash in the middle, like the top middle of the screen. I have turned all of that stuff off every time I've played this game. That HUD stuff. I've turned it off, disable all of it every time, and every time I restart my game, it's just back. Like, I don't care that my segment was good when I'm racing with someone right now. Like, I don't. Like, that timer in the bottom of the screen, that's distracting. And I've turned that off before, and it just keeps coming back. I gave up with that.
There is way too much stuff on the HUD.
Yeah, I get that there's people that like that, and it's great that it's there for them. It's just annoying that it keeps coming back.
Can you change the size of it? Is that scalable?
Nope.
See.
Not scalable.
Yuck.
I would like that all to be... I would like the map to be way bigger and the rest of it to be way smaller. That would be great. Now, there's fuel wear, or tire wear and fuel consumption.
Right.
I think my car... Yeah, so... Came to the fits full speed. I'm teleported 20 feet to the left.
Yeah.
I went to the pits because I wanted to do my qualifying, and then I realized, I can just do it from the menu. And the way it's supposed to work is that the tuning that you have set for your car, it resets everything. It fills you back up to where you have it set. It sets your tires to where you have it set. It didn't do this for me. So qualifying is 3 laps, and I go into qualify here, and I'm loaded in with 1 lap of fuel instead of 3, which I have set. I can't actually complete the qualifying session. It's just ticked down to 0. I barely have enough for a lap. So that was frustrating. I'm trying to kind of stretchy this out until we get to the part where I get in the race, because that's where the visuals really bug out. Do I have any other tabs open? I had a tab open about Gran Turismo 7, which I was interested in taking a look at, only because it said that Gran Turismo 7 sees a gentle 13% boost in PS5 players after the film debut. But I more just wanted to sort of talk about this article a little bit. There's no actual information in it about numbers. It says it jumped by 13%, but it doesn't say what that's a jump from or to.
Okay.
So
they're basically just saying, is that player base?
I don't know.
Is that purchase it? Right. Player count. There it is. PS5 player count jumped by 13%. That's a very vague.
Yeah. But
very, very vague.
Look at my rims. They're all bugging out. Let me just play that back. They just changed colors. Yeah, not great. That was an interesting article there. Do I have anything else about Forza other than reviews? I mean, yeah, there's actually some positive reviews on Steam. But the positive, one of them says, I really don't understand the negativity around the game. That's the first sentence. So whatever comes after that, I don't really feel like it holds much water, holds much weight.
Yeah, this is an amazing game with every corner being an event with real... No, this person's just being funny.
This person got paid by turn 10. Let me jump to the start of the old race here. Here we go. Oh, also, that press X to mute or unmute all drivers, that is the only place you can do that. You cannot do that in the middle of a race when someone starts screaming and yelling horrible war crime related things at you. You can't do anything about it in the middle of a race except exit and leave.
Oh boy.
Get to the grid. Oh, this is still practice. I'm just fucking around with my car. I want to find where it gives us a little cutscene at the start of the race. So here's the grid. And yep. There it is. Oh, there's his car. It decided to load in. At this point, it just feels like I'm kicking this game when it's down. But look at the shimmering. Like, what is going on in this scene right now? With the shadows in the background.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, jeez, I don't even know what to say about it anymore.
It's just like, I was playing it and I was like, it's obtuse. And going back to the car leveling thing that I was talking about, the point I was trying to make was 50 is the maximum car level. So you're grinding, but then you hit this wall, you get to level 50 and you keep earning car points, but you can only use car points that you like on the car that you earn them with. So I have like 50,000 car points on this car. Can't do anything with them. And if I wanted to make another car, like buy the exact same car like this, but maybe make another tune for a different track or a different kind of racing, I can't do that. You have to level the car up again. It doesn't carry over. You like each individual car, you have to level up. And people like making a drift tune, a tune for a car for an open track, a tune for a car for a short track. And instead of like going through like 3 menus to load it, they just have 3 of the same car. I have a bunch of duplicate cars in Forza for different things. Forza Horizon, excuse me, not this game. Yeah, the race is pretty standard. I didn't do that great. I got spun out a couple times. One of them was my fault. So the race is pretty uneventful, which I feel like it's the actual main event that I qualified and practiced for. I'm just scrubbing through, but it's just not that interesting. So where's the podium? Yeah. So we have all of our cars made it into the podium, which is nice and not something that happens every time. But unfortunately, I don't think all the drivers turned up. Let's see. Yeah, almost. We almost got all 3 models. There he is. XXXX Knives XXXX. Good job, buddy.
Way to go.
Way to go, you got him. All right. Now, racing games that work. beamng.drive. For those that don't know, beamng.drive is a soft body, physics-based driving simulation game. Soft body physics is the art or technique of making materials have realistic material properties, strength, rigidity, flexibility, and implementing that into a visual three-dimensional space, whether you are doing it through animation or real-time simulation, like this game does. At a fundamental level, it relies on very, very basic principles that have been well understood by people for centuries. Hooke's law is one of them for compression and extension of springs. There's an interesting Wikipedia article on that if you care to read more about it. And BeamNG brought that to cars, and you can do the thing. You can do the crashy thing. And there's a little bit of that in the gameplay that I have here. But what I really wanted to talk about was the potential that BeamNG has and what it already is as a platform for people who are very enthusiastic about vehicle simulation. Krauser, have you ever played beamng drive? Or do you just have
I actually have not. I have it through my son, actually. We share Steam libraries, and for whatever reason, he ended up getting it. I don't know why. I believe he and a couple friends were messing around and stuff. Well, actually, I probably do know why. Probably one of the streamers he watched was messing around with it, and he was like, "Ooh, I gotta get that." But yeah, I mostly saw it thanks to you when you guys started playing it.
Oh yeah. I'd like to get us all together and do some races. I've continuing to make improvements. I have a little side project which is setting up a BeamNG server. Which is already done, actually. We're just playing it through, not Hamachi, but might as well be. Same thing, same kind of program, but it can just hold more than 5 people. And, yeah, like, racing works. Like, once I have the server set up and running, which is where all my headaches come from doing that, it actually, like, works better than Forza. It doesn't crash as much. And, you know, like, models load and stuff like that. Now, this game is rough around the edges in a different way than Forza. The most obvious thing you can see in this scene is the mirrors are fucked up. One, they don't reflect the vehicle that they are attached to, and two, even what they do reflect is completely at the wrong perspective. So the mirrors are useless. Otherwise, it'd be in first-person mode with no HUD the whole time driving the semi-truck. And I'm sure they'll fix it at some point. Mirror reflections are probably low on their priority list. I don't know. I'm not a BeamNG developer, but let's take a look at some of the updates that they've given us here. So, Update 3.0 is the latest major release. They added a new vehicle, new trailers, and an expansion to one of the maps that they already had, new missions for people to partake in. They reworked the gear shifting system. We've heavily revamped how manual transmissions function under realistic mode. The main change, which will be visible from the player's end in this first iteration, is that we are now taking into account how long the driver holds down the gear shift buttons. Previously, the gear shift buttons triggered a user wants to shift event, but in this new version, we are measuring how long the buttons are held down and use that information to determine how quickly the user wants to shift gears. That's really, really cool. It's a very intuitive way of changing how fast you shift your gears in a manual car on a controller that has a binary either shift or don't press the button to shift input. Oh, look, they even give, like this is the logic that they're using. This is the kind of stuff that they're working on to...
Oh, wow.
To, like, is the clutch pressed enough? Is RPM difference small enough to sync? What does that mean? Well, there's these things called synchros, which is short for synchronizers, and they're in your transmissions, and they match the speed of the output shaft with the speed of the next gear that you're trying to select in your car, and if your car doesn't have synchros, you have to rev match properly, and if so, is the measured time less than the minimum time, and if no, grind logic comes in, where you grind gears, and then there's different things for grind logic and everything. So this is the really, really in-depth stuff that they're doing with the drivetrain that you don't see. Like, this just doesn't happen in Forza. And I'm just going to use that as an example when I'm comparing. It doesn't matter if it's Forza or if it's Assetto Corsa or if it's F1. You press the shift up button and it puts the car in the next gear, and then the car has X amount of power because it's in that gear at that speed. That's the end of the logic. But there's actually a drivetrain in this game. There's actually an output shaft from the transmission that's connected to the differential, which is connected to the axles, which is connected to the wheels. So it all comes together. And this is just from one update. They have VR stuff going on. They have new editing tools for people to make cars, and then some other bug fixes. And there's like, look at all these updates where they're just completely overhauling systems in their game, right? There's 10 pages of this. There's probably more than that. This game originally released, the tech demo released in 2015. So this game's like 8 years old, going on 9.
Wow. Oh, that's right. It has been around a while.
Been around for a while, way before it was on Steam. I guess that's probably like what, $25 US? That's Canadian dollars there.
Yeah, I believe that's around $24.99.
Yeah, and
probably.
These images aren't just marketing hoo-ha jargon images either. These are like, you can actually toggle a view in game that looks like this, and this is what gives the vehicle its structure. So these orange points are where the are flex points, and then these are called J-beams, I think, these white things, and they have values. And if you exceed the value of force on them, they deform and they dent, and it's great. And there's also a little bit of that with the tires, although tire simulation is something that the devs are working on or want to work on, I believe. The tires will flex, but if you were to look down at the tire from like either directly below or above, like straight on like that, it's actually just a bunch of triangles wrapped in a circle. So it does the job and the tires flex, but I think they want to add a different level of simulation, or a better level of simulation to the tires. One thing that this game is lacking out of the box is tire wear and tire heat and stuff like that. But
really?
Yeah, it doesn't have any of that out of the box, but you can add it because this game has a crazy modding community. Like, there's 1,370 vehicle mods on the site, 700 plus levels, mods of mods, add-ons and stuff, 2,500 almost, and automation. There's 16,700 automation vehicle mods. Automation is a game about designing vehicles from the ground up. The body, the drivetrain, the tires, everything. It's available on Steam, and is a game that I would like to get someday. So you design cars, you design engines, you can put the engine on a dyno, tune fuel ratio, intake, what kind of gasoline it takes, how many mufflers it has, everything. You build a car from the ground up, and you can export directly from automation to beamng. You don't even have to close your game. You can literally export and like, it's there. It's in the game.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be fun to dabble. Looks good too. Damn.
Yeah, it does. That's actually very, very nice. Very nice.
Very nice.
Very
Let's
nice.
see if there's anything about beamng. But yeah, like, go into, like, this is a graph of the compression ratio, the air-fuel mixture in the engine, and your torque curves and your pressure. It's just a nerd's nerd game when it comes to cars and building them and building engines for cars. And this looks like it was exported to beamng. I can't tell. I'm not sure if you can do anything like this in-game in automation, or you can only export to beamng. But yeah, it's really, really cool.
Well, I will continue to mess with SnowRunner because I'm not like this type of simulation, like what beamng does. I'm not like accustomed to that at all. Like, right. I'm not used to this level of I mean, I think the what I'd say the most significant racing sim I played was probably Gran Turismo. But fun. Back in the day, like I'm talking like 3 and 4.
Yep, I played a bunch of 4. Whoops.
But this looks awesome. Like stuff like this, I would definitely, because this reminds me of like SnowRunner. Like, hey, here's some terrain. See if you can actually work the vehicle over top this stuff. I've seen you do some crazy stuff in this too.
Yeah, and like you have actual levels of drivetrain control. Like let's walk through what we got going on. So we have our speedometer and what gear we're in, and G-force beside it, and then
What's a kilometer?
what the fuck is a kilometer?
This is
Down there, that start stop is for our ignition, and then going from the top left and then circling counterclockwise around, our front differential lock, which splits the power evenly, 50-50 between the front wheels, so even if a tire has minimal or no grip, it's still going to spin. And then below that is our range selector. High and low are our options. High range allows you to drive faster, but you have much less torque. Low range, you can't go as fast, but you have more torque. And you are in the danger zone TM for damaging parts, both in this game and in real life in low range, because there's so much torque. If you pop it in second or third and like rev it up and drop the clutch, you snap your drive shaft. Just because of the torque multiplication there. And then same below that as in the front, except for the rear, another locker. And then those two wheels are hubs. They are the front hubs. I don't know if you've ever seen an old-timey video of someone locking in four-wheel drive on a vehicle, but they get out of their vehicle and they do something at the front. You literally have to physically crank the middle of the wheel hub to lock it, the end of the axle into the wheel. That's what those are. So even if our drive shaft is engaged to the front, which is the icon just to past that looks like a weird robot handshake, that's the drive shaft. Going to the front wheels, you can have that engaged, but if you disengage the hubs, the front differential will spin and the axles will spin, but no power will be transmitted to the wheels. The axles will just be free spinning. So I threw the lockers on here because, one, I'm going up a really, really steep hill and I want to be able to crawl slowly, very slowly and precisely. And it's hard to do that if your wheels are not all spinning at the same speed when you're going up a hill like this. But I did not have them on earlier because if your outside wheel is going at the same speed as your inside wheel and you're turning, the outside wheel has to travel further. So it has to skid. It puts a lot of stress on your drive line, and it also reduces maneuverability. Trying to drive in a circle, round and around, you lock your differentials up, that circle will be bigger when they're locked. Okay. And this car does not have a great range of turning left and right already, so that's more about off-roading than it is specifically about beamng.drive. But I could go on and on about stuff like that and how it relates to this game. It's such a good platform for people to do stuff, other than crashing. Obviously, it's fun to crash, but there's an intense level of simulation going on way beyond that. I'm just jump us ahead. Up getting into bad. It's giving me engine oil critically low because I went over a rock too fast before and I bust my oil pan open and my oil's leaking everywhere. And oil, about 30% of the job of oil in an engine is for lubrication. The other 70% is cooling. Oil has major cooling benefits to your engine, and if you run out of it, really bad things will happen and you'll panic and wind up upside down like a turtle stuck on his back. And you won't be able to go up the mountain anymore. Yeah, I wish racing games were made by people that were as passionate as the beamng team is.
Right, yeah, because I was about to say, like, this is like really cool to see a team that knows their shit and is like put this much into it. Because I know there's gearheads out there that absolutely love this stuff, including you. So that's like super cool to see that there's at least something available for those that go this deep.
Yeah, it's lovely, and if I'm stressed or bored, don't know what to do, I play beamng.drive. It's just so therapeutic. Not exactly sure why. Maybe it's the crunching, maybe it's the...
Hey, and here's the thing, like, I poo-pooed, I'm not big into cars and vehicles and stuff like that, but the more I saw you guys, and I know it's not a full simulation, but the more I saw you guys playing SnowRunner, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And I played it, and I'm like, why is this appealing? I don't know why, but it is. Like, when you get yourself out of the mud, you're like, oh, like, holy shit, like, I actually got myself out of that. Yeah. This is kind of cool.
I think it has
there's something to say about that.
I think it has to do with overcoming a challenge that's put in place by a fair and well thought out mechanic.
Correct.
It's not
I
fun.
can totally agree with
It's
that.
not fun overcoming a challenge because part of your car model didn't load in, or because you can't turn. Like, it's nice that you overcome that, but it's not exactly rewarding. It's more just sort of a kick in the nuts than it is anything else. But overcoming, like rock crawling in beamng, like if you roll over and go down the mountain, like you're done. You're not coming back.
Yeah.
And my car in this run with the police it's fucked. Like, it's already fucked. My steering is already bent. I already have to hold the wheel to go straight. My radiator's already leaking. My car's already starting to overheat because of it. Like, I haven't even, 30 seconds in, my car's fucked.
You're like, I'm done. It's over.
Because I had a head-on collision. And the vehicles feel more unique from one another in this game. In Forza, they all kind of feel the same to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It feels like a car that has had a weight and power slider moved without any actual physical characteristics to reflect that.
I was wondering about that. I was going to ask you that a while back when you first started playing it. I was like, because that's a big thing for me. Like, well, not for me, but that's something I thought about when it comes in terms of simulators. Like, we were talking the other day about sense of speed, in games and stuff like that. In racing games, particularly, the sense of speed is everything. Like, if it doesn't have that, forget about it. Like, one game that has an incredible sense of speed, Burnout Paradise.
Oh,
like, that's like one of the best. And I was like, the other thing that comes into play when it comes to simulators was when I played Gran Turismo, the cars felt like they handled differently. And I was wondering what the case was. So you're telling me that that's another thing that they kind of skimped out on, is they all feel the same at this point. That's sad to hear.
Yeah. Gran Turismo,
it felt different to a degree.
I don't feel like it evolved. That's the thing.
Okay.
I feel like the
that
newer entries in the series feel a lot more similar to like Gran Turismo 4 than they should.
So you think that they kind of like plateaued? They got to a certain point, and then that was kind of it, and they just copied it ever since.
I don't think they've copied the code per se. I think they've found a development.
Not the code. I'm just saying.
Found a development pipeline and a way of doing it that works for them and works for the audience that they're selling it to. And there's not inherently anything wrong with that. But this car feels different from the off-road car I was driving because it's front-wheel drive and it bottoms out and doesn't take bumps well and is kind of slow, and I grind the gears because it's a manual and I shifted too fast apparently.
That really grinds my gears.
Bam! It's just so satisfying.
Yeah.
Look
at that. Yeah, the damage is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it's the best damage model in a racing game by far. And that is consequently the reason that there are no real vehicles in this game. Manufacturers do not like their cars being damaged in games. In fact, some of them have specific stipulations. Scratched, hanging loose bumper allowed. Scuffed paint on hood allowed. Cracked windshield not allowed. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Now that's an odd one to me.
There's very specific things. I don't know exactly what it is. They're like...
I understand the body and the whole quality of the build and stuff like that. That I understand. But cracked windshield, like, that one seems really off to me. Like, okay.
Yeah, like Toyota didn't appear in racing games for about 3 or 4 years there. There's a period where they didn't.
Right. I do remember that, actually.
In fact, I think even Forza Horizon 5, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it didn't have Toyota in it when it launched. Did FH5 have Toyota at launch? I prepared my slide.
You're all good, man. It's all good, man.
Okay, so it did have Toyota at launch. It didn't have Fiat and a bunch of Fiat, Alfa Romeo. They're all owned by the same conglomerate.
Okay.
But yeah, Toyota basically, their official statement was, we don't want to promote road racing, but they wouldn't allow Gran Turismo to license the vehicles or have them in there, even though they appeared in promotional content for the game. So the deal was reversed at some point. And then all of a sudden, Need for Speed had them, and like, that's the game that you re-entered the scene in?
Right, that's the game you decide. And maybe that's because it's just straight up arcade. Maybe that's why they were like, well, this is arcade. This doesn't reflect any type of realism.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, we don't know. Most people don't know. Like, the developers, I'm sure, are under NDA about this. And it's not something that most people care about. Okay, I found an image that I was looking for here. Let's see. So, this is modeling for Assetto Corsa, and these highlighted things are like not really, those aren't the components that actually move the suspension up and down. Like, the wheel moves up and down, but it moves up and down where the computer tells it to. It's not like actually connected to this. This stuff might move physically, the model might move, but it's not actually calculating. Like, this has no resistance. This isn't actually a spring or a damper, but it actually is in beamng.drive. I think that about wraps up everything I have to say about beamng.drive. Other than I'm trying to work on a video for it, but I need to figure out the script first, and then fill in the gaps from there. And I want to do it right, so I don't exactly know when it's going to be out, but hopefully sooner rather than later. And the AI traffic in this game is like really fucking annoys me, but it's like actually not far off. Just completely unyielding individuals. If you ever load this game up, man, you gotta try driving the buses around. You like scripts? I know you like scripts. I know a thing or two about scripts. Yeah, you gotta try driving the buses around. It just like throw on some relaxing music, and I'm gonna play the audio for a second here. So, listening to unfortunately you won't get it on your end, browser, but
that's okay.
The sound design is so good in this game. Like, you can hear the seats rattling around where they're fastened to the body of the bus. Like, you ever been in an empty bus and it goes over a bump and like that happens.
Oh, cool.
You get wind noise. You hit a bump too hard and the suspension hits the bump stop, which is like two rubber stoppers that come together to stop the wheel from going through the body. Like, you hear that. You can tell how hard you hit a bump. You go over a bump and you hear the noise your car makes and you go, ooh, I probably fucked something up. Whereas in a game like Forza, it's, I don't know, exaggerated, I guess. Every impact in Forza sounds like you've just hit a wall at 100 miles an hour, even if you tap someone, so it's hard to get a sense. But Rubbin's racing. That's gonna happen.
Rubbin's racing.
Rubbin is racing, baby. Shake and bake, baby. Alright. You want to play some Quake?
We can play some Quake.
Let's play some Quake.
Play some Quack.